Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on Savitri with our beloved Ranga. We are still in Book 1, Canto 1, The Symbol Dawn, page 7, beginning with Earth's grain. Earth's grain that needs the sap of pleasure and tears, rejected the undying rapture's boon, offered to the daughter of infinity her passion flower of love and doom she gave. In vain now seemed the splendid sacrifice, a prodigal of her rich divinity. Herself and all she was she had lent to men, hoping her greater being to implant and in their bodies' lives acclimatize, that heaven might native grow on mortal soil. Hard is it to persuade earth nature's change. Mortality bears ill the Eternal's touch. It fears the pure divine intolerance of that assault of ether and of fire. It murmurs at its sorrowless happiness, almost with hate repels the light it brings. It trembles at its naked power of truth and the might and sweetness of its absolute voice. Inflicting on the heights the abysm's law, it sullies with its mire heaven's messengers. Its thorns of fallen nature are the defense it turns against the Savior hands of grace. It meets the sons of God with death and pain. A glory of lightnings traversing the earth scene, their sun thoughts fading, darkened by ignorant minds, their work betrayed, their good to evil turned, the cross their payment for the crown they gave. Only they leave behind a splendid name. A fire has come and touched men's hearts and gone. A few have caught flame and risen to greater life. Too unlike the world she came to help and save. Her greatness weighed upon its ignorant breast, and from its dim chasms welled a dire return, a portion of its sorrow, struggle, fall. To live with grief, to confront death on her road, the mortal's lot became the immortal's share. A lot to go over here.
So, we are in the middle of Canto 1, the symbol dawn. And he has started the second section, and Savitri too awoke among the tribes. So, to just summarize what we have done, he begins with the beginning of creation, the symbol dawn. Note the word symbol. It's a dawn that is symbolic. So, in other words, it is not something in time, because it is, the symbol dawn is the one which is far out in, it's not in time and space. It is something that the beginning of creation, there is no beginning to creation. It is begun right from the beginning, and there is no beginning to it, no end to it. So this is symbol dawn. And he describes how the divine has plunged himself into the opposite of himself, and slowly the evolution is starting. The plunging of the divine into the inconscient is the involution. So all the powers that are there, Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda, love, knowledge, power, truth, all these things come down and get hidden in the darkness of inconscience. But the evolution now starts. So there is a struggle between the darkness and the light. I am using only the words darkness and light, but you can apply that to everything. The power and the incapacity, okay? The knowledge and the ignorance, the consciousness and the unconsciousness. So there is this pressure and it is trying to come up. But because it's an absolute darkness, okay, it is not so easy for the higher light to work here, because by choice it has itself created the maximum difficulty and it is now wanting to come out. Therefore, life comes out after millions of years. So this is the struggle in the first 2-3 pages, where there is an effort from the higher and there is a response, some response, it dies out again. Again there is an effort and it dies out again. So this is the struggle that he has been showing. So then he comes to the actual dawn. The dawn when the day when Satyavan is going to die. And Savitri knows about it because he had been given 1 year to live with Savitri. So it begins, the second section begins with, and Savitri too awoke among the tribes. Okay, but the description is very clear. She is full of her own, the fate to come. She is concerned with that. And she is absolutely unconcerned with the world and the happenings there. The description is very clear, okay? But we saw that last time, so we won't go there now. So now...
but now he begins to talk about the earth.
Yes, that's right. And her condition, he is now universalizing her condition. The divine coming down, because there is a description, the daughter of infinity. She is the divine mother, herself come down into the physical world. And how does the world receive the divine here? That's a description we are going to read today. There is a resistance. The light will not allow, the darkness will not allow the light to have its way. This is my kingdom and I will rule. Light, you have no business here. I reject you. That's the whole attitude of the earth to the light, trying to wake it from above. So we start reading from earth's grain that needs the sap of pleasure and tears. Okay, so now Savitri is the divine mother and she has come down into a human form. So she had brought with her into the human form. There you are, 3 lines above the line that we read today. She had brought with her into the human form. The divine has come down into a human form. Many of these lines that you see, you can apply to mother, because that's exactly the... Savitri is very clearly, it's a biographical description.
An emanation of the divine.
Yes, that's
mother.
right. Emanation of the divine. Okay, so earth now, is the earth responding to the divine having come down? Not very much. So that's a description that we will see here. Earth's grain that needs the sap of pleasure and tears. There is pleasure and there is also tears. This is the world of dualities. Because when the world, the one divine, manifests himself, he manifests into the many. And if it is the infinite many, then it has to be opposites also, necessarily, logically. The many infinite, if there is truth, there is also falsehood. If there is power, there is also incapacity. If there is light, there is also darkness. If there is pleasure, there is also pain.
And how do you understand grain and sap?
Yes, I'm coming to that. Now the grain, the word grain, normally means seed and kernel, like a grain of rice or a grain of wheat. But here, it also has different meanings. The grain of wood is the texture of wood. That's another meaning. Here it means the natural inclination of somebody, the natural nature, the nature of somebody. That's a grain.
Yes.
You can say, to make you understand the word grain, you can say he has a grain of kindness in him. Okay, you can see it that way. His nature is that of kindness, the grain, the essential quality, That's a word grain. Okay, it has so many meanings. In wood, it is texture. The people who use wood, they often speak of the grain of the wood. You see, either this way or
the nature of the wood.
Yeah, and according to that, they have to cut the wood. They shouldn't go against the grain. Okay, but here it means the essential nature of earth. And what is the essential nature? It needs the sap of pleasure and tears. There has to be pleasure and pain in the physical world, and he has used only pleasure and pain, but all the dualities exist in the physical world. There is no pain up in the second level of the spiritual planes of consciousness. In fact, there is no pleasure also. It's a immutable stance of a witness look. You're just looking without any feelings and without any perturbance. You're just looking calmly. Very often it is used like a statue's look, because the statue is not reacting emotionally, it is just looking. So that is, many poets have used that image of a statue for the experience of the self. So that's what it means. Earth's grain needs the sap of pleasure and tears. What he's going to develop is, the divine is only Ananda. But when he comes down here, he has to meet the dualities of the physical world. He himself has created the dualities. The one becoming the many. Therefore, there has to be dualities here. Okay? So, earth's grain needs the sap of pleasure and tears. Its whole texture is made up of both, this and that. Okay? Light and darkness. Rejected the undying nature's rapture's boon. The divine Savitri has come down with her divinity, but the earth is rejecting the undying rapture's boon. The divine is bringing a boon, eternal ananda, eternal ecstasy, but the earth is not ready to receive. Rejecting is not only not ready to receive, it is rejecting. And the description goes on how it even treats the sons of God and the messengers of God. It rejects, it doesn't want the light. Okay, so rejected the undying rapture's boon, offered to the daughter of infinity. So here he is already describing Savitri. He has described in the second section here, and Savitri too walk among these tribes. So now she is the daughter of infinity. She is the divine come down here. And why has she come down? Because Ashwapati prayer to the mother, that there is so much of ignorance and suffering in the world. Why don't you do something about it? Send someone who can do this. A messenger of God, your messenger, let them come down and do this. So he is promised that yes, you will get a daughter, there will be an issue who will solve the problem. That's the, so she is the daughter of infinity. Her passion flower of love and doom she gave. So here again, passion of love. She represents love, eternal love. But when you come down into the physical world, it turns into the opposite.
We have the word passion flower hyphenated.
Yes.
I've done a lot of study on it.
Yes.
And in the West, it's a symbol of Christ.
Of Christ.
Christ, yeah. The tendrils are the whips and the 5 petals are the wounds. But in India, it has a different meaning. And you know that meaning, I'm sure.
I don't know.
Pandavas fighting the 100-headed fight. Each little petal has to be fought again and again by the 5 brothers. That's the passion flower.
I see.
And Mother named that passion flower Silence.
So what you're saying is very relevant, because later on there is a description of Christ also here. Down 4, 5, 10 lines, 15 lines below, there is the image of Christ being crucified. Okay, so the passion flower of love and doom she gave. In vain now seemed the splendid sacrifice. So, what is the sacrifice? The divine has come down into the physical world. The divine is light, knowledge, power, bliss. And when it comes down here, everything becomes the opposite. Knowledge becomes ignorance, light becomes darkness, and power becomes totally impotence,
Very good. Impotence, yes.
and the ecstasy becomes pleasure and pain, which he has mentioned. So it's a sacrifice which has not been successful. That's what he's saying. In vain now seemed the splendid sacrifice. Now the word sacrifice is very interesting here, because here he is using the word sacrifice in the normal sense of the word. She has sacrificed her knowledge, she has sacrificed her peace, she has sacrificed her power, she has sacrificed her consciousness and descended into here. Why? To save the world and bring, as he says afterwards, implant a bit of heaven here on earth. So that's why she has come down and sacrificed all that to come down here. And the word sacrifice is used in the Gita as well as in the synthesis in a different way. He uses the word sacrifice in the sense of yajna in the Gita. And sacrifice as yajna in the Gita is not the normal idea of sacrifice that you do. The normal idea of sacrifice is you do something, you lose something precious which you consider that you have lost. That's a sacrifice. But here it's not in that way. It is used in the sense of yajna. Yajna means offering everything you have to the divine. In that sense the word is used. Okay, so there are 80 pages in the synthesis about sacrifice, how to offer yourself to the divine. Okay, but here it is an ordinary meaning. Savitri has sacrificed her divinity and come down here.
Yes.
Okay, but the grain of infinity is there. Yes,
and it's a splendid sacrifice.
Yes, that's right. Splendid. It's a divine sacrifice, but it seemed to be in vain. Okay, why? A prodigal of a rich divinity. Now, who is a prodigal? A prodigal is one who is a spendthrift. He spends lavishly without thinking. Okay, like Bill Gates or
well, we have in Christianity also the prodigal son,
yeah,
who returns to the
that's
father.
right. Yeah,
but he spent everything.
That's right. So the word prodigal here means the wealth of the divine. Okay, he's spending energy, power, everything he is giving here in the world. Even if you see in the physical world, you will see that prodigality if you want. Okay, the splash of color in nature. Okay, if you're sensitive, you will feel that immediately. When 10,000 flamingos come and settle, it is such an unbelievable sight. Okay, this is a lavishness. The prodigality is a lavishness. Yes. Color, form, shape, everything. But it doesn't seem to be, the reaction to all these things is not much. That's what he's saying. In vain. Okay, a prodigal of a rich divinity, herself and all she was, she had lent to men. She gave everything that her divinity was, she has given it to men here who are ignorant and not very appreciative. That's why it's in vain. Okay, so this is the divine coming down to the physical world, hoping her greater being to implant, that heaven might native grow on mortal soil. The divine comes down here to save and change the darkness, to transform the darkness. But it doesn't seem to be very successful right now, okay? Because it has been met with the remaining lines will easily show you that earth is resisting. It is not ready to receive that light. There is a feeling of the comfort zone. It happens also in individuals. You are very comfortable with your limitations. The moment you are asked to make an effort, there is a hesitation. Something new comes in, there is always hesitation.
We have in the new edition of Savitri a line that is added there. And that line is, I asked, I believe, Richard about this. And in their bodies' lives acclimatize. So hoping her greater being to implant, and in their bodies' lives acclimatize, that heaven might native grow.
Oh, there's one passage
soil.
there. Which is,
yeah, one extra line.
Okay, I'll add that later.
They found that line in his manuscripts.
Yeah, because his manuscript, if you see how he used to do, first of all, it's very, very tight writing. everything. And the handwriting is not very clear either. And then he puts a mark and then goes somewhere else and puts that mark and adds a line and then puts an arrow. And so it's very difficult to. So if they have done that, it's a good work. They have done a good work, basically.
They have.
Yeah.
They have. And it seems that Richard is able to
Yes.
decipher his handwriting.
Yes. Anyway, I mean, he has done his best. There are
done
many
his best.
different
Exactly.
views on the whole thing.
Many
They have
views.
added a lot of commas and all that.
Yes.
So this is what he's saying. So I've not got those words. So I won't be saying anything about those
No.
words which are missing in my text. Okay, so then
But she wants to acclimatize in their bodies,
that's right.
in humanity's bodies,
Yeah.
that heaven might grow native on
That's
mortal
right.
soil.
And acclimatize fits very well.
Yes.
You acclimatize yourself to the weather where it is. So the conditions on earth, you acclimatize yourself to
Yes.
that. Plant heaven on earth. Implant heaven on earth. Does it succeed?
We
That's-
constantly have to acclimatize plants that we get from other countries
Yes.
so they can grow in this soil.
Yeah, that's right. So, hoping her greater being, the divine being, to implant, okay, that heaven might grow native, that heaven might native grow on mortal soil. In God's labor, you have a line, marrying the soil to the sky. So that's exactly what it is. Heaven might native grow on mortal soil. So marrying the soil to the sky in God's labor, if you remember. That's what Sridhar has been doing all his life, trying to bring heaven down into earth. Okay, so hard is it to persuade Earth's nature's change. Earth's nature is darkness, and nobody. This in human beings also it is there. He is talking of the universal, okay, of the universal level. But even in the individuals, it doesn't. You resist change. You always-
Look at ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. We resist change. Okay. I think I mentioned last time that there was a lady from Italy, and she told me that she had the experience of golden light coming in, but there was something in her which didn't want it. It's a vital that doesn't want. The mind may want, but the vital resists, and the body is absolutely insensitive and unconscious. It doesn't accept the light. So this is what is saying. Hard is it to persuade earth nature's change. Mortality bears ill the eternal's touch. Mortality, the physical world here, which is mortal, can't bear the purity of the next lines will explain that. The purity of heaven, the power, not willing to accept, too much for it. Okay, so,
And Mother even says that if we once saw her as she is, we would break apart.
yes. And that's interesting because there's a defense. So, actually, your ignorance and your limitation, later on that will be very clear. Your limitation is protecting you. If you are open to the power of the entire cosmos, you will be overwhelmed. You will not be able to, you will be crushed. So, your limited is actually protecting you. It's a protection. And slowly you have to acclimatize yourself to the
Yes,
higher
yes.
and slowly get rid of this protection so that you get open up to the others. The ego is a protection. Hard is it to persuade earth's nature's change. Mortality bears ill the eternal's touch. It fears the pure divine intolerance. The word intolerance, what does it mean? That means the divine does not tolerate any impurity. So it does not. Where in the mother he has described that Lakshmi, the aspect of splendor and beauty, will not enter where there is pettiness and where there is dirt. It will not enter. So you must keep the temple clean if you want to install there the divine presence. That's what is meant by the The divine does not tolerate dirt and impurity. So that's what is meant. Intolerance. It fears. The earth is afraid of divine's pure intolerance. I told you, one person asked Mother, that when we come to you, you are the very symbol of purity and greatness and divinity. And we are afraid, with our smallness, we are afraid. And our worst thoughts come to us when we come to you. Okay, all the things that we have done wrong, all that rushes in. And there is this feeling of guilt when we come to you. What to do? So that's exactly the same thing being expressed here. Universally, but it happens individually. And Mother said, offer all that dirt to me and I will deal with it. So one should not be afraid even to admit that and give. So
I think we should also look at that line of mortality bears ill.
Yeah. Mortality bears ill. Mortality, the physical world. Where there is mortality is the law. Okay. So human beings and everything in the physical world is mortal. It is transient. Nothing is permanent. So mortality, description of the earth. With darkness, with ignorance, with lack of consciousness, this is the mortality.
And when it bears ill,
it can't bear.
Doesn't like it.
It can't bear, it rejects.
Yes.
That's what he's saying. Okay. So, it fears the pure divine intolerance of that assault of ether and fire. Now, ether and fire are the elements which are at the highest level. Ether, air, fire, water, earth. This is the sequence of the involution. The highest is, subtlest is ether, then the next is air, which you can feel. Ether you can't feel, you can't see, none of the senses will feel ether except sound. In ether, the sound comes first. Creation starts with sound, the Om sound. And then when you come to air, you can feel it on your, so touch comes in. Then when you come to fire, you can see fire. But you can't touch it, you can't smell it. And when you come to water, there is taste. And finally, when you come to earth, there is smell. So this is what is. So ether and fire are the elements at the higher level. He is using another word for heaven, the higher levels. So of that assault of ether and fire, it murmurs at its sorrowless happiness. It murmurs, it is the lower nature. Murmurs, complains, protests. Okay, it's used in the sense of protesting and complaining. At its sorrowless happiness, the happiness without any sorrow at all, ecstasy. Often Sri Aurobindo uses interesting words, true truth, okay, shadowless light. So here he's saying sorrowless happiness. Because at our level, happiness is often mixed with sorrow. If you are happy, there is also sorrow. If there is pleasure, there is also pain. Because the dualities are there. That's why. So here, there is no dualities at all. There is oneness. The one becoming the many, the oneness. So that's what he's saying. It murmurs at sorrowless happiness. Almost with hate, repels the light it brings. It doesn't want to change. Okay? It trembles at its naked power of truth and the might and sweetness of its absolute voice. So it rejects everything. It rejects the light, it rejects the power, it rejects the sweetness and everything. So all the things, sweetness of the divine, light of the divine, power of the divine, I don't want. I am very comfortable with where I am. If something new comes, I will be disturbed. This is very interesting because if you see in the physical world also, if there is an organization with rules, okay, you bring one small new rule, there will always be protests. Some sections will always protest. So this is a reflection of that. The lower is not accepting any change. They want stability. Comfort zone, as you say.
And look at the words he uses. Murmurs,
yes.
Hate,
inflicting,
sullies, thorns.
That's right.
All of these things that reject the divine.
Then the next passage, Mother has selected many passages from Savitri for two things. One is for painting with Huta and the other is for setting to music with Sunilda. So this passage also she has selected. Okay, inflicting on the heights the abysm's law. I have marked out all the passages where she has selected them for the music and the paintings. And she said that when it is read, the slide should be accompanied by the music. So now that passage is mother selected. Okay. So what is he saying? These 5, 6 lines, 10 lines. He is saying that the divine is trying to come down here through Savitri. She is the messenger of God and she has come down here. But the earth is not ready to receive her. It is rejecting. Okay. So inflicting on the heights the abysm's law. It sullies with its mire heaven's messengers. So we'll go sentence by sentence. Inflicting on the heights the abysm's law. Rather than implanting heaven here, the darkness here is saying, you come down and you become mine. I am going to put my darkness on you. This is a thing that happens in the evolution also. The lower is influencing the higher, and the higher is also influencing the lower. Right up to the spiritual planes of consciousness, this happens. And at the highest level, total purity is there, but the impurity is inherent in it, lying inherent. Here also at the lower level, inconscience is there, darkness is there, but the possibility, the incipience, the beginning of light, the possibility is there here. But it is total darkness and the light is hiding there. There it is total light, but the possibility of darkness is there. That's why there is an interaction between the two.
But it's inflicting on the heights.
Inflicting. I don't want you. I'm very comfortable where I am. Okay. So, inflicting on the heights the abysm's law. It sullies, makes dirty with its mire. Mire, mud, dirt.
Yes.
Okay. Heaven's messengers. So, even the avatar, when he comes down, he is subject to the laws of the earth. And what are the laws of the earth? We'll see that. Okay. Its thorns of fallen nature are the defense. So, the abysm's law. Which is the abysm's law? The opposite of Satchidananda. The abysm's law is darkness, impurity, ignorance, and incapacity. Exactly the opposite of Satchidananda. So that's the abysm's law. Okay, so its thorns of fallen nature are the defense. It turns against the savior hands of grace. So earlier you had that passion flower. Now here is the description. I'll read the whole passage. It is description of Christ. Okay, so its thorns. Remember, he had a crown of thorns on his head when he was taken up the hill for being crucified. Okay, its thorns of fallen nature are the defense. It turns against the savior hands of grace. It meets the sons of God with death and pain. A glory of lightnings traversing the earth scene. Their sun thoughts fading, darkened by ignorant minds. Their work betrayed, their good to evil turned. The cross, their payment for the crown they gave. So here very clearly, the cross for the crown they gave. So they tried to bring the heaven's crown down here, but they were rewarded by the cross. Crucify you. And this is the history of mankind. We have always done this. The greatest minds, we have burned them at the stake, we have crucified them, we have poisoned them. Look at what happened to Socrates. He was poisoned with hemlock. Okay. Then Christ, he was put on the cross and crucified. Okay. Then what did we do to Meera? Meera was also given poison. Meera is the devotee of Krishna. She was a historical figure. Okay. Then there are so many. Joan of Arc was burnt at the stake. This is what you do to the divine, when you come down here. You are not ready to receive the divine. Mortality bears ill the eternal's touch. History is a witness to all this. Okay, so its thorns, the fallen nature of the defense. It turns against the savior hands of grace. Divine is coming to save you, but you are rejecting it. Okay? It meets the sons of God with death and pain. A glory of lightnings traversing the earth scene, their sun thoughts fading, darkened by ignorant minds. This is what happens to the divine messengers. Their work betrayed, their good to evil turned. The cross their payment for the crown they gave. So what's the result? Only they leave behind a splendid name. No effect in the physical world. Very minimal effect. Okay. And Christ coming, Christianity started 300 or 400 years after that. Not immediately after this. And it became rigid and very, very stiff and narrow in its views. It wasn't what Christ wanted. So that's what he's saying. Betrayed. Their work betrayed. Okay. Their good to evil turned. The cross their payment for the crown they gave. Only they leave behind a splendid name. Who is the they? The sons of God. Okay. A fire has come and touched men's hearts and gone. A few have caught flame and risen to greater life. Too unlike the world, she came to help and save. So, but there are a few who benefit from the descent of the divine avatar. Okay, that's what he's saying. A fire has come and touched men's hearts and gone. Not everybody is affected by it. It goes away. They only leave a splendid name behind. But a few have caught flame. In Christ's life, the 12 disciples. And a few have caught flame. The rest, no effect at all on them. Okay? And risen to greater life. Too unlike the world, she came to help and save. She is absolutely unlike the world, and she comes down to save and help. But she is met with denial and even ill treatment. That's what is being said. Okay? Her greatness weighed upon its ignorant breast. Its ignorant breast, the breast of earth. Okay? And her greatness is too heavy for the earth to bear. It's too heavy. It is weighing on the... So, and from its deep chasms welled
dim chasms.
I have... Pardon?
And from its dim chasms, or you have deep?
Oh, I have deep chasms.
Interesting.
There are slight variations in the text.
Yeah.
I should have got that, but the problem is that I have all my notes here. Okay. And in fact, what I have is the first edition as it was published. A greatness weighed upon its ignorant breast, and from its deep chasms welled a dire return. So, what is a dire return? Dire is a very serious or very urgent thing, and it is returning. So, the divine is coming with its greatness, but the response is returning a dire return. It is a very, very serious negation of what is coming down. It is welling up from below.
Welling up is a good term. I mean,
That's
what
welling up. It's very interesting.
Yes.
It's welling up. There is a resistance. A portion of its sorrow, struggle, fall. Okay. So, what is resisting? Not the full sorrow and not the struggle and the fall, because the divine element has some power. So, a portion of the lower is affecting the higher. That's what it means. A portion of its sorrow, struggle, and fall. Okay. Now, that defense is very interesting. Its thorns of fallen nature are the defense. I'd like to bring your attention to that. It's the defense. Okay. So, in the the mother, okay, I'm quoting what he says there. Okay, he says, the darkness is a defense. The ego is a defense. Okay, the limitation is a defense. Insincerity is a defense also, because the limitation is not allowing the infinity to come in. So you are defended. If it came in, as you said, if you saw mother in her real form, you will be swept away. So it is actually limiting you and protecting you, your insincerity. So in the hour of God, Sri Ramdas has got a very interesting about this defense. Okay? So I'm telling you, I'm reading out the sentence. All insincerity of nature, once thy defense against the eye of the master and the light of the ideal, becomes now a gap in the armor and invites the blow. So that which you thought is protecting you becomes a gap in your armor if you are doing yoga. If you are not doing yoga, you are protected very well, no problem. But if you are doing yoga and trying to open up your darkness, you are trying to open up, then that insincerity, which was a defense, now becomes a gap in your armor. So get rid of insincerity also, but slowly, gradually. Once, immediately if you do, there are problems. So each word that Sri Ramdas is using, you have to look into it and see what he is saying. Okay. So the next is, so what is Savitri to do? She has come down here and she is being met by opposition. And is being inflicted. The darkness is inflicting itself on her light. Okay. So to live with grief, to confront death on her road. The mortal's lot became the immortal's share. So now he is referring back to Savitri again. She has come down and to live with grief. She has come down from ecstasy, but now she has to meet grief. To confront death on her road. Okay? And the mortal's lot, the mortal, Savitri the mortal, became the immortal share. So she is immortal, but she has come down here and become immortal, and now she is also subject to the laws of the abysm, the laws of, and what is the law? Darkness, death, and sorrow. That's what he's saying.
Thus, trapped in the gin of earthly destinies, awaiting her ordeal's hour abode, outcast from her inborn felicity, accepting life's obscure terrestrial robe, hiding herself even from those she loved. The Godhead, greater by a human fate. A dark foreknowledge separated her from all of whom she was the star and stay, too great to impart the peril and the pain. In her torn depths, she kept the grief to come.
This also is a passage which Mother has selected for the painting and the music. Beginning with, thus trapped in the gin of earthly destinies, up to the Godhead, greater by human fate. Okay, so this is a passage which she has selected for Savitri music and painting. Thus trapped in the gin of earthly destinies. So, what are the earthly destinies? Again, darkness, ignorance, sorrow, pain. This is and incapacity and impotence. Again, we use the word. So, this is the destiny of the earth. Okay, so now she has become trapped in that jinn. The word jinn is used here in the sense of, there are many. Jinn is even a sort of liquor. But here it is used in the sense of a trap. She has come down from absolute freedom and she has got here trapped. Okay, and she is now subject to earthly destinies. And the earthly destinies are death, ignorance, suffering. Okay, outcast from her inborn felicity, the native felicity which she had at the higher level, now she has been outcast from there. So now she doesn't have that felicity. Accepting life's obscure terrestrial robe. The terrestrial robe is matter, life and mind. Okay, that's a terrestrial robe. In fact, he used the word here in the terrestrial robe. He has used the word robe. The matter is a robe to hide the divine. The first line of the Isha Upanishad itself says that. Isha vasyamidam sarvam Yat kincha jagatyam jagat. So, Isha Vasyamidam. The world is made for the vestment. There are two meanings you can read. The vestment of God is matter. The vestment is your clothing. So matter is a clothing for the divine. So robe. That's why he used the word robe. The divine is hiding there inside, covered by this robe of matter. Okay, so outcast from her inborn felicity, accepting life's obscure terrestrial robe, hiding herself even from those she loved. That's what you mentioned just now. That when if you see me as I really am, you will be.
And of course, those she loved was her parents.
Yes. Even those who were close to her,
all those who were close
did not
to
see her divinity
she had
fully.
To hide herself.
Yeah. There are some who have seen lights around her. There have some who have seen, in fact, my co-worker in the press, okay, he saw once a light coming down from heaven into her, okay, and he told that to mother and said, "Oh, you saw that?" She was surprised and she said, "That's unusual." So he had some capacity, but from the normal point of view, he was a very dull person, okay, not intelligent at all, not at all logical and full of desires, but he had this capacity. So we should never judge people.
I believe I might have told you about one of the astronauts when they were circling the Earth.
Yes.
One of them saw this light come straight down to the Earth, hitting Pondicherry.
Yes, exactly. He saw that light.
Yes.
I know that. I've also come across that.
Oh, you have? Good.
In the south of India.
Yes.
He probably didn't know about Pondicherry, but his description is very clear, down here in this location. And it's interesting because this location, Pondicherry, is very interesting if you see, okay? Because they said that it is a seat of Agastya Muni. He came down and settled here. But if you see from the other point of view, from historical point of view, look at what happened in this area. Pondicherry, Mother and Srirambdo, the greatest that world can offer. 75 kilometers only from here, Raman Maharshi. 40 kilometers from here only, Ramalingam. He had many interesting experiences. Okay, Ramalingam. And they said that he locked himself in a room and he meditated and left his body. And when they opened the room, there was only some flowers left. So whatever be the myth, it may be a myth, but it is something that describes his greatness. So here you are, this little, so seeing a light where these fantastic... a
little spot on the whole earth.
Yes. Just imagine, 75 kilometers from here, Raman Maharshi's ashram. Then here, and mind you, we are from Srirambdo ashram, but they have given high praise to Raman Maharshi. Okay?
Very much.
Mother has spoken of him. When he passed away, there was this huge star at 9 o'clock at night. Okay? Going across the sky. Just not, meteors disappear in seconds. But this one went on. We saw it in the playground. We were sitting in the playground at that time and mother saw that. And she commented immediately. She said, "A great soul has passed away." That was Raman Maharshi.
Sri Aurobindo called him a spiritual Hercules.
Yes. So, if an astronaut has seen that light here in this area, not at all surprising. So, hiding herself even from those she loved, the Godhead greater by human fate.
That's an interesting line for me.
The Godhead greater by human fate.
So the Godhead takes birth and becomes even greater by taking birth.
Yeah. That's right. And now the next line is, which you didn't read, na? A dark foreknowledge separated her from all of whom she was the star and stay. So what is the dark foreknowledge? The death of Satyavan. The whole canto will end with, this was the day when Satyavan must die.
Yes.
That's why she is nursing her sorrow within herself without revealing it to anybody.
Namaste all.